been getting a few inquiries about my crocheting, and so I thought this video would be a great way to show some basic stitches in crocheting, and how once you learn a couple of basic stitches, you can crochet things like pot holders, a beanie, baby beanies, things like that. But people have said, but I don't even know the basic stitches, and so I thought it'd be nice to show some of those basic stitches. So the first thing I had to do was decide what type of yarn I was going to use, and for making a pot holder, which I will show the starting stitches and the starting row for a pot holder, I chose cotton because cotton will hold up under heat to a point. Also, it can be used for like a dish rag, dishcloth, whichever you want to call it, depending on the generation you're from. I learned how to crochet from my grandmother years and years ago. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. I found it very relaxing, and with my health issues, there's a lot of times I can't work out in the yard or do other things, but I can put my feet up at any time and just learn these basic crochet stitches to make something. So after you choose the yarn you want to use, which to practice with, I would suggest just getting some cheap yarn and do some practice. You can show these basic crochet stitches. The things you'll need is basically a crochet hook, and for the yarn I'm using, which is just a variegated yarn, it's a white and blue that somebody had given me, but it is cotton. So I have an H hook, which is 5.0 millimeter. You can pick these up at any craft store, or I usually get mine from Michael's. I usually get a lot of my yarn from Michael's because it's cheap there. I get it on sale. I never pay full retail. And then just a pair of scissors so you can cut your yarn. And so we'll move on to these basic stitches. Okay, so you can probably see this. And what I do with my yarn is I just loop it through my fingers. I have it over my index, under my middle finger, over my my ring finger, and then my pinky holds it. So I have it like so. And then I just move my yarn down between my middle finger and my thumb. Okay, for your first one you want to have a slip knot. So we have this in here, and you just take your hook. I place it on the top of my yarn, come around, and so if you see this, the short tail is on top of my long tail or long piece. Reach my hook in there, grab a hold of my yarn, pull it through, and that makes a slip knot. So we can do that again. So I put it on top. I have my tail over top of my main working piece. Put my hook through, pull it through, pull the tail tight, and then you can tighten up your work. Okay, so now you want to chain, and all chain is doing is you're taking your hook and you're grabbing onto your yarn and pulling it through. And depending on the size piece you want, that's how many chains you're gonna do. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have a chain now of 30 stitches. Okay, now remember here, if you are going to come back now, if you chain off this one and loop it back through your first loop, that makes your first stitch. So in this case, I have 30 in a chain, and I'm trying to make a potholder here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a single crochet, and with a single crochet I want 2 stitches. So I have 30, so this is going to make, so I usually hold my finger, my thumb, right, okay, that's my 30th stitch. So I chain 1, 2, and I go back through and pull my loop through the first loop, hook my yarn again, and pull it through both loops. Sometimes it doesn't want to go very well. Then I just continue. Now remember too, this yarn is hooked through your fingers. The tighter you hold your fingers, the tighter that yarn's going to be pulling through. The looser you hold your fingers, the looser that yarn's going to be. So depending on how loose you want your yarn crocheting project to be, is how tight you hold your fingers. Okay, now we just hook through the last in our chain. So we'll pull like a regular single crochet, and now we've got to go to the our second row. We finished one row, and that's a pretty tight, and it'll keep you from burning your hands if you use it as a regular pot holder. And so when you get to your second row, because we're going to still continue to single crochet, all you want to do is you want to chain 2. I always turn my project so it's out of the way. I get my yarn out here to where I can use it. Hook it back through my fingers. Okay, so we're ready. So we chained, I hope you can see this, we chained 2, and then we want to start on our next row. And I know I've heard a lot of people complain that they never can get straight. Now it's just take your time, go through, you're going under both of those loops there. So then you're starting your second row and you just continue. Now these are the basic stitch. This is just a basic stitch when you're learning to crochet or you're just doing it for fun. Okay, we're getting close to the end of this last row on the pot holder. So we'll finish up the last couple of stitches here. And there's that one. And the very last one. And we hook back through our chain. And we bring it through. Okay, so that's our pot holder. So stick it here on my lap so you can kind of get an idea of what the pot holder looks like. Nice little blue and white pot holder. So now we gotta tie it off here. So what I do here is I just cut myself the yarn off. And I'll take my yarn, pull it through the last stitch, and it knots it off. And then I run, this is my own way of doing this, is I'll run it through again. And I pull it through. Then this tail, I just take and weave it on down through. So if you like this video, please give it the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will have more crocheting projects in the future showing some more stitches, designs, and probably some of my Afghans I've made, my baby blankets, beanies, and scarves. And until next time, you too can live through your limits. Thanks. Bye.